All of the recent balance patches and the Earn reworks have certainly had ripple effects on Deadlock's meta, and so today I want to talk about 5 items that I would recommend buying in June 2026. Hey everyone, it's Connor here at Dead Unlocked, and let's get right into it. So the number 1 item on this list that I want to talk about today is Scourge. This item I actually haven't seen a ton of in pro play recently, and I'm kind of surprised by that. I think we might actually see more of it this coming week in Deadlock Night Shift, but what this does basically is you can give someone huge spirit resist when you use this active, and you also allow them to deal damage rather relative to their max health. So this is really beneficial in metas where you need a lot of AoE and frontline priority is really important. And that really feels like a lot of what we're in right now, especially these Earn fights. If you have a Scourge on, like, let's say a Billy or an Abrams or a Moan Krill, something like that, maybe even a Silver, and this could even be cast by someone like a Rem, if you have a Rem on your team, or someone who has a lot of active items, like maybe a Page has this, maybe a Viscus has this, or maybe you're just a Billy or an Abrams that buys this. This is a really good item right now in Earn fights. I mean, you're just seeing a lot of this kind of like Spirit Burst dump that gets thrown into these Earn fights. And being able to give someone 40% spirit resist on a 35-second cooldown, with obviously much shorter if you have transcendent cooldown, things like that. But this just feels like a really underbought item right now, especially in a meta that really rewards this kind of big circular AoE, kind of team fighting. So I have seen Scourge pop up in a few of my games recently. I've been buying it recently, and so it's definitely one I would recommend you try. But even though we're in a huge, I would argue, spirit AoE meta, there are still some really good weapon items as well, and I would really recommend for the second item on this list, Opening Rounds. This one was kind of recently reworked. I don't remember the exact patch, but now this one builds from high velocity rounds, so it has the inherent bullet velocity increase, it has weapon damage 8%, it has its spirit power 4%, also allows you to deal more damage to full health enemies, basically, or enemies above 50% health. So I've seen this one a ton, especially in Deadlock Night Shift. I think it was last week in the melee creeps versus work in progress game. I think there was like 4 or 5 heroes that had this. It's really good on like Vindicta, Victor. I mean, anyone who really benefits from a little bit of bullet velocity and also is maybe a gun spirit hybrid hero. Just a really good, solid 1600 cost weapon item. Again, a little bit outside of the bounds of kind of what is most meta right now, but you still have to buy weapon items, especially for an M1 carry. And Opening Rounds feels like it is one of the best buys you can get in the game right now. And staying around here in the weapon tab, honestly, if you're playing a spirit hero that uses a little bit of gun, but primarily spirit, which I think is a lot of the kind of hero cast right now, Alchemical Fire is a really good 1-2, even with Opening Rounds. So this is an item that has been in the game for a long time, has been largely unchanged in the game, but feels like it's probably at its kind of peak use right now. I mean, basically either this or the Vindicta meta a long time ago, where you would use the Stake and Alchemical Fire and Vortex Web. Oh, horrible. But right now, I think Alchemical Fire has a ton of value. I haven't seen it bought just a ton in the pro scene, probably because it's just one of those things. When movement is really good, Alchemical Fire can be a little bit easy to avoid and get out of. Same with any AoE circular ability. But in Earn fights, this is such a good tool. I mean, if you're a hero that doesn't have the ability to lay down something like this is a really good buy. Again, especially if you're a hero that is wants to hit your gun threshold, your 4.8k gun investment, but you're at the end of the day a spirit hero. This in Opening Rounds gets you a combined 14 spirit power, and you hit your gun threshold. So a really good kind of 1-2 buy if you want to have some weapon in your build. All right, the number 4 item is another one that I have seen bought a lot, and this one really does make quite a bit of sense, but that is Counterspell. I think this is always an item that devs are going to prioritize in terms of balancing, because I think this is like so much the core of like what Deadlock's about, is being able to hit a parry at the right timing to cancel ability. So I feel like this is always going to be an item that is at least somewhat in the conversation for being viable, but I think it's really good right now. I mean, if you're fighting on top of Earn in that pit, let's say you're under bridge or on top of bridge in a really intense fight, just being able to have Counterspell in the back pocket is really valuable. And I just said back pocket. Pocket is a really problematic thing in the meta right now. Really problematic hero. Counterspell is one of the best ways, if you can hit the timing correctly, to not have to deal with afflictions. So, I mean, it doesn't help much with Silver, who's probably the other most problematic hero right now. It really doesn't do much. But in any case, I think this is still a really, really good buy. I mean, you get, when you hit this, also, people don't necessarily realize this, you do get 20 spirit power, you get move speed, and you do get some healing if you are able to hit the kind of parry that protects you from the spell. So in any case, right now, you're fighting in a pit a lot in this game right now, whether it's Earn or mid-boss or something like that under a walker. Counterspell just feels like it can almost always be useful. All right, number 5, I actually really want to talk about the game's newest item, and that is Grit. People, I feel like, are not talking about this near enough. Getting a 200 barrier every 60 seconds is honestly really good for the early game. I have been buying this on Billy. It's in Together's build, I think, but almost every time I've played Billy recently, and it just feels great. You generally know when you need that timing in the early game, and so I feel like Grit is a great item. I would also kind of like parlay this into a late game Indomitable buy, so that means you need to go Reactive Barrier if you want to pair those things, not like one of the Weapon Shieldings or Spirit Shieldings, right? Unless you wanted to go Divine Barrier. But I think this is a particularly good item when you use it in this sequence, when you go Grit to Reactive Barrier to Indomitable late game. This just feels like a really potent combination. It's kind of a 3-for-1 for my last one here, but I have been seeing a lot of people buy Indomitable as just kind of like a, I have 6,400 souls. We just got mid-boss. We're at 40 minutes. We're about to go try and siege the base. Indomitable just feels like one of the easiest buys you can get in that exact moment. And that's a moment that I think Deadlock's meta really lends itself to quite a bit right now as you finish one of these huge team fights. And sieging the base is not that easy these days. And so this is an item that I think can really help you. It gives you good resist as well. It's not like it's a nothing burger item. It actually does quite a bit. But I mean, being able to cleanse effectively your first CC is so strong. So this is a long-winded way of saying I think Grit is really good in the early game right now, especially on a hero where you can kind of predictably use your engagements. Like an Infernus dashing in using Grit is not a bad play. A Billy charging in using Grit is not a bad play. And then especially if there's something that causes you to buy Reactive Barrier, something where you're going to be getting stunned, chained, immobilized, slept, or silenced, then I think this is just such a really good green sequence right now to go from Grit to Reactive Barrier to Indomitable. All right, and before I close this out, I will have some honorable mentions, and also I'm going to be trying to do these every month moving forward. I've been really inconsistent with content lately because I've been moving and just a lot of other life things going on, but I really am going to try and lock these down and kind of have more regular guide content each month. But in any case, my honorable mentions for this, I actually would say number one is probably Healing Nova. Again, for all the same reasons that I talked about Scourge and a Healing Right also being a really good, viable early game item, Healing Nova just feels like it is really good in those earn fights. I just ran a Viscous support game recently, actually, where I used Healing Nova and Rescue Beam with Healing Tempo as well, and that just felt really like such a valuable thing in those prolonged fights. If you can either pull someone out with Rescue Beam or heal your entire team, kind of get in the middle of the fray, maybe you're using Goo Ball or something as Viscous, or you're just in there as a frontliner, Healing Nova can feel really good. I guess the other one, I haven't talked about many Spirit items. I feel like I'm kind of neglecting this area, and I feel like a lot of Spirit items are very good right now. I mean, Spirit Burn feels like so core for some of these earn fights. Escalating, again, if the fights are longer and you're able to build up these stacks, you just have to think this is one of those items that gets better the longer team fights go. So escalating, Spirit Burn, and also I would say Vortex Web, just partially because it builds out a slowing hex, which is such a good counter item in kind of the early to mid game. As an Apollo player, I genuinely hate it. But Vortex Web is another one of those good ones, especially if you're pairing it with like an Alk Fire, or you're playing like a Geist Bomb build or an Ivy, Kudzu Bomb, whatever it's called now, the Thorns. I think that this is one of those things that, again, the longer the fight, the more AoE oriented the fight is, the better items like this are going to be. But at the end of the day, let me all know what you all are thinking about kind of the item meta these days. I'm probably going to release this video and there's going to be a patch like literally in 48 hours or something. So hopefully not. Either way, let me know what items you're buying most in June 2026. I'm planning on doing kind of the same thing for heroes and items each month. And again, just trying to get back to guide content a little bit more in earnest here on the channel. Partially because news has slowed down to such a severe degree, and also because guide content is so much the part of what I love about, making Deadlock content. It's just one of those, when the game is changing at a core level every month, it feels like, it's hard to like talk about a meta like there is one, because it changes so frequently. But in any case, right now it feels like there kind of actually is, we're settling into what feels like somewhat of a meta. So expect a patch soon. Expect all of this to change, but for right now, these are my 5 picks. Let me know in the comments what you all think. But as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you all next time here at Dead Unlocked.